Welcome to the Skillranch. This podcast is designed to equip entrepreneurs, professionals, and consultants with skills to impact tomorrow's work environment. Now here's your host, Bilal.
Hi, this is Bilal Wasim and welcome to the Skillranch. On today's episode, I'm joined by Lisa Patrick. Lisa is your modern day Nancy Drew, using her investigative strategic approach in the business, finding missing structures and amplifying existing ones to grow your business and build a legacy. You want a thriving thought leadership brand, not a surviving business? It's difficult to get an objective view and see the whole picture of your business when you're busy inside the picture frame. So let's shift about be authentically you and having the actions that match our words. We all have some likes, dislikes, academic preferences. But what method can we use to identify what we truly aspire to be in our life?
Well, I can't speak for you or anyone else, but I can speak for myself. And one of the things that I've learned over time is that when my gut talks, I need to listen. And I know that kind of sounds crazy and, it's not very, scientific or technical, but truly over the years of experiences, I've learned that when my gut is telling me something, it's probably fairly accurate. And when I don't listen to what my gut's telling me, that's what gets me into trouble. So, I think it's the hair as ladies, I don't know about you gentlemen that are listening, but when the hair in the back of my neck goes up, I need to be highly aware of why that's happening. And so that's really, some of the methods of how I look to, what I like and what I dislike. So here's the other thing. Just ask yourself what you don't like, what you don't want first. So, process of elimination is an amazing thing. So I was recently having a conversation with a lady yesterday who's transitioning out of her C-suite career and trying to decide what she wants to do next. And part of that was process of elimination. So I said to her, well, what don't you want to do? What are the things that you don't want to do? Let's not focus on the things that you want or that you don't know that you want. Let's focus on what you don't want. And, I have a great executive and business and life coach who teaches me that all the time. A process of elimination is really valuable when you're trying to identify what you really want to aspire to have or the goals or objectives in your business or in your life. And so, when you start to eliminate the things that you don't want, you're either pleasantly surprised at what's left, or if you absolutely end up with nothing, then you've got a clean slate and you can start over again. And that is refreshing as well.
Yes, that if you can share a story, you had a plan, you had a goal, but you were doing something that was major, like people do side hustles. And then they have a good idea, they start with their side hustle with their full-time job, but then after a certain time it just went dead, and then their full-time job is a priority for many reasons. What are some of the way people can keep themselves motivated to continue what they want to do in the life as a side hustle, even though they can't do it as their main job as of now?
Well, I think we have to put food on the table, right, Bilal?
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, we have to have food on the table. So, and sometimes that forces us to do things that we don't necessarily have a passion around. And a side hustle typically is your passion, whether it's a passion project or your side hustle is something that turns out to be the full-time thing. But I think what you're asking is what happens when the passion project or the passion side hustle dissipates and reality sets in and you've got to do the work in your 9-to-5 job. Is that what you're asking?
Absolutely, that we start like being very passionate, we have an idea, we want to do it, but then all of a sudden the workload start to increase. We want to relax in the evening and that side project just goes on the side after all. What
Well,
recommendation and advice would you give to individuals who have those ideas but are unable to make that next move on launching it?
well, I think it goes back to our conversation earlier today, and that is hard work and persistence. It takes courage to stand behind your conviction of what you want to do. It takes hard work. It takes doing the things that you don't necessarily want to do or desire to do in order to get to an ends of a goal. And many people have more excuses in their arsenal toolbox than they do the courage to continue to move forward. And so if you have something that you are absolutely passionate about and believe in it, and truly to the core of your essence think that that side hustle is worth hustling for, then you should always continue to move forward and try to persevere and find a way. Like my good friend Merle Hodge says, find a way to do it. Don't give up. But it takes courage to do that. And so it takes not wanting to sit on the couch and watch TV, not binge watching. And I'm not saying binge watching isn't a bad thing to do. Binge watching right now, a great show on Netflix, but I'm also not being discouraged by being persistent in my goals. So if, I get up at 4 a.m. and I go to bed at 11 o'clock at night, anyone who knows me well, I never shut it off. I am relentless in my persistence, in my goals and my dreams. So if you really, truly are passionate about your side hustle, you will find a way to do it, period. And if you're not, which is the majority of people, because it takes work and it takes courage to actually do the work and get up every single day when times are tough to do it, you will never, it doesn't matter how passionate you are about something, if you're not willing and dedicated and have the courage to do the hard work.
That's very inspirational. And at the end of the day, hard work and persistent is what makes you successful. I will again go back to your initial career story where you said that you worked for someone for a while and after that you shifted towards your own business, and that is what you are continuing. How has it affected your personal and professional relationship in the type of connections that you met? And I'm coming from the proverb that says, birds of a feather flock together. So you wanted to be a coach, you wanted to be an entrepreneur. What kind of relationship has it helped you make? And how much had that contributed to the overall success of your business?
Well, I think, first of all, I don't really believe authentic. I don't like the word authentic. I like the word real, because I think people hide behind the word of authentic. When you're real, you just are who you are. I can't change who I am. I will not make excuses for who I am, and I won't apologize for who I am. So as I get older, you know what? The give a shit meter, if you will, is less. And so when you're truly yourself, you're vulnerable and you really don't care what other people think or feel. And I mean, not feel as in the fact that I don't give a shit about what somebody else feels. I absolutely do. But I'm not going to let their perception or their reality of what they believe how I'm going to actually go forward.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that, Lisa. And you shared that there are some like negative experiences as well, and it stops many individuals from trying to follow what their passion is. They will say that, what will somebody think about what I am doing? What would be their reaction? And that kind of a feeling stops us from taking that next step in our life. So if we need to understand individuals who we want to work, whether it's a partnership or whether we want to do a business meeting with them, what are some of the ways we can utilize to better understand different personality types?
Well, I'm a firm believer in the DISC model, but I go against the grain in many ways, because a lot of people think of the DISC model as a labeler or as a one and done. And so you take the DISC personality assessment and it tells you you're a D personality, you're a dominant personality. So many would argue that now you've been labeled that and that you never are anything else but that D personality. Well, I believe in the platinum rule, not the golden rule. And if anybody's listening to this and heard me speak before, I speak about this often. So the golden rule says that we treat others how we'd like to be treated. But if I'm a dominant personality, which I am, by the way, so I'm, fast paced, fast results driven. I execute at a high level, let's get shit done, do, right? But if I am a conscientious person where I'm very much logic driven, I'm slow paced, I'm slow to make decisions. If I treat you the way that I want to be treated, how's that person going to react? They're not going to react very well, right? Because that's not their style of personality. So I think that, how do we better understand different personality styles is by asking really great questions. And when we ask really great questions about them and listen to the answers. Now, here's the thing. There's a really great difference between hearing and listening. A lot of people hear things, but many are not good at listening. When we talk in a technical sense, hearing is, the sound that enters our ears. And it's a physical process that happens, right? And it happens automatically. But when we listen, it requires us to focus and concentrate, both mental and sometimes physical, as well, on what the other person is telling us. When we pay attention to not only the story, but also about how it's told and the use of the language and the voice that they use, and the way, if we're lucky and we happen to be having a conversation that's virtual and now at times, how they use their body tells us about what type of personality style they are. And then it's our responsibility as the listener to adapt our style if it's not reflective of their style to meet their communication needs.
I was just laughing through when you were sharing that usually we listen to respond rather than to understand, and that is why a lot of conflicts do happen
Absolutely.
in any aspects of our life. And the point you were touching, that is like one of the key, if not the most important part of the coaching process, where you are not only listening to the individual, you're training your mind not to relate it to any of your experiences in the past. Then you're focusing on the emotions, the passion, the body language, the hand movements, the tone of the voice, and only then you can truly understand what somebody is going through and help them overcome the things that they want to do in their life.
Well, and I don't think it's just that doesn't just apply to coaches. I think that's just in life in general. When I'm talking to my daughters, if I'm hearing them, they know right away that I'm hearing them, but I ain't listening. And then it's hey, mom, wake up, like, mom, you're not listening to me. Mom, you're not listening to me. Mom, are you listening to me? And when you're present in the moment, that's when listening happens. So it's not being distracted by doing multi-tasks at one time, because there's evidence to say that if you're listening to a podcast and you're scrolling on Facebook at the same time, or you're doing yourself an injustice, because one, you're not really listening to what is happening in the podcast. You're not absorbing the information, you're hearing it, and that's a big difference.
Yes, and listening matters, maybe in all aspects of life, as you just said, that when you truly understand, that is when you can help an individual overcome whatever they are going in their life. And in your article, tune into your own frequency during challenging time, you mentioned that resisting disagreements demonstrates an intolerance to conflicts and hurts relationship building. So what are your thoughts around navigating through this crisis that comes, whether in our personal relationship, professional relationship, and especially during the current time when we are going through a pandemic and everybody is already have problems in their mind that they're going through?
I think that a moment of pause in any relationship is important. And so It's interesting because I've seen many different aspects of people's personalities come out through this crisis. And one particular instance comes to mind where this particular gentleman, who is very much an I personality, like they're an influencer personality in the DISC profile. So they're very much about ideation. They're shiny objects everywhere, want to do this and want to do that, want to do this. And there's very much typically on a daily basis about people, interactions with people. But in this crisis, they've turned into this demon of a personality where it turned into all about them rather than their team. And that was interesting, because had that particular individual, in a few conversations that they had with their team, taken a moment of pause, truly a moment of pause in the heat of the discussion, and took a step back, perhaps the outcome would have been different. And so I think when people are, in conflict and, everybody's afraid right now and in fear, and when you act out of fear, some things are said and some things are done that you normally wouldn't say or do because your back is against the wall. So I think if you take a moment of pause before you react, you're much further ahead when you're navigating through all these, through your crisis or through the relationship or the conflict that you're currently having. So my advice is really take a step back and a pause before you say or do something that you're going to regret later that might not necessarily be truly who you are at the core.
Yes, taking a pause is also important. And then we also need to realize that there are people who have hurt us in the past, who have done like something wrong with us. And we should ensure not to bleed on the individual that always cared for us, that were always on our side, not to unnecessarily make the relationship that are on a good level turn to a bad one just because we were not in the right mindset. And taking a pause or just taking a break, like just tell everyone that today has not been a good day for me, I need to take a break, go for a walk or just sit in your room, relax, and then you will be in a better mindset to take the decisions that somebody wants you to do.
Absolutely. Well, here's the other thing about disagreements is it's interesting because we do tend to get all fired up, right? Like we're in the heat of the moment and we say and do things that we typically wouldn't do elsewise. But I think right now, everybody is afraid. And so you have to be really careful in the heat of the moment that you don't do and say things that have a long-term consequence. So it's kind of like, how would I react in this moment if somebody said that to me? And take a pause and think about that for a moment. If the shoe is on the other foot, so to speak, how would I react? And I think sometimes we forget to put the shoe on the other foot and think about the other person first and be accountable to maybe we were wrong. And, being real means stepping up and saying we were wrong. I'll have much more respect for somebody. I don't know about you, Bilal, but if they tell me if they were wrong and they hold responsibility to that, than the actual words that occurred during the heat of the moment.
It's helped us to resolve a lot of problems if you are being honest. If something went wrong and you're willing to make it right and improve it, I think so it will help to resolve anything that happened. For some cases, if the damage has been done like too much, then it would be tough. But for any minor argument, I will feel that would be a good step to making the things better once again.
But words, again, are just words. It's the actions that you take afterwards that really depict whether or not you're really truly being responsible to how the other person has feeling through the conflict.
And that is why emotional intelligence has become one of the key soft skill in today's environment. Like there are robots on one hand that can do almost everything if they are given the free chance. That is how strong AI is becoming. But there's one thing that robots don't have, and that is empathy. How to feel other people's emotions, how to react to them in a certain situation when they're going through. And that is where humans are better, and that is the one skill that differentiates us from robots.
Well, we have to be accepting of others, right? Like I have one friend who, she loves to be the center of attention. In fact, she's not happy if she's not talking, quite honestly, telling jokes about her stories and her life and wisdom and so forth, and forgets to ask the questions about others' lives and so forth. And it doesn't mean that she's a bad person or that she doesn't genuinely care about others. It's just who she is at the core. And I think as you get older, you realize you either are accepting of that and say, you know what, that is just who she is, to a fault. And when you become accepting of others, I think you realize it becomes a filtration system for you, whether or not you truly want those people in your life or you don't. Do they add to your well-being or don't they add to your well-being?
Yes, if somebody makes you feel uncomfortable, it's affecting your mind, then you can think about what you want to do with that kind of a relationship. But in general, it has been great talking to you today, Lisa. And maybe what would be your last thought, last suggestion on today's discussion that you would like to share with our community?
Well, I think that, as coaches, the most transparent you can be in your relationship with your client will serve your client much better than any advice or steps or procedures that you can give them or processes or systems that you can give them. We're moving into an age of authentic relationships and trust. You spoke several times about trust today. And I think the more authentic and the more real, like I said, I hate the word authentic, but the more real that you can be with somebody, the faster you can grow and be unstoppable together.
Yes, trust is key, and then open communication. Whatever is in your heart, if that is on your tongue as well, that help us to overcome many of the issues that do come up in any kind of a situation. It was pleasure talking to you today, Lisa, and thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and please stay safe and healthy and have a safe return from Pakistan back to Toronto.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
If you are a thought leader, whether you're transitioning from corporate into your own personal brand, or you already have a personal brand and you're looking to amplify it, and you believe the same things that I believe that we can be unstoppable together. First, I believe that our relationships will make the difference in the results that we achieve together, the impact that we will have together, and the speed in which I can help you make opportunities happen. I do believe that when we are real and transparent together and forgiving, and we do the work, that we'll achieve more, we'll see more, and that we'll have more to give to others. And you will have a legacy and be the next generation's foresight.
So thank you everyone, and I'm looking forward to having you all on the next episode of Skillranch Podcast.